Executive Senior Sales Director, Amber Town Guillen, began her Mary Kay business in March of 1997 and debuted as a sales director in June of 2000. She was honored by her sister sales directors as the monthly Go Give nominee for August 2014. Amber has led her unit to 20 unit circle appearances, including 10 times in the $500,000 Circle of Achievement and 5 times in the Circle of Excellence, earning those beautiful top director trips. She's earned 5 of those trips, and with 3 of them being the prestige trip. She is the top 10 sales director nationwide in 2020. Her highest monthly commission check, are you ready for this? Over $18,000 in 1 month. Please welcome from Phoenix, Arizona, and a member of the Mary Kay National Area Independent Future Executive Senior Sales Director, Amber Town Guillen.
Grateful that they give you flexibility because I might wander, so I have another mic to walk around with. But I felt led to share this story because that month that it was 18,000, there was, I believe in the power of visualization. And typically from people that taught, like Stacey, that shared that I teach with a lot of humor and I have a lot of humor in my life. What I will share with you today won't be packed full of humor, but will be with a smile on my face. But I believe visualization is why so many of the top are at the top, because they had the ability to see it before it ever became a reality. And why I say that is because the 6 inches between your ears is the most important to protect, to grow, and to enhance. So the month that we did finished our first million, the 18,000, I had, my husband I should say, said this to me. Is there a reason why Mary Kay just deposited $54,000 into our checking account? I'll say it again. Is there a reason why Mary Kay just deposited $54,000 into our checking account? And my honest answer is there a reason why you're questioning it? Now, you see, 4 years prior, I started visualizing every single morning. Now, I was raised in a Mary Kay home since I was 3, so I came out of the womb practically visualizing, but I became very intentional with my flip cards. And I visualized every single morning for 4 minutes. And on one of those flip cards was that there would be $50,000 deposited into my checking account. Now, I don't say that to say wow is me, but wow is you. Yes. Because if you can visualize it, it will come to true. Because when I was visualizing it, I was still paying off $100,000 in attorney debt. But I could see it. So when my husband, Joe, so sweet, questioned it. Excuse me, you have not been looking at my visualization cards, have you? Because I saw it 4 years ago that this was gonna happen. So I wanna give you a visual real quick, and this is a take home. I want you guys all to close your eyes, and if you're peeking, I will see because mine are gonna be open. So I want you to close your eyes. I want you to put out one hand, and I want you to see me, Amber Town Guillen, slicing a lemon. Yep, I just sliced it into 4 pieces. Can you smell that lemon? Take a deep breath. Now I handed you your personal wedge of lemon. It's in your hand, so make a little circle like you got a hold of it. And I want you to raise that lemon to your mouth and take a bite of it. Okay, take that lemon out of your mouth. Now open your eyes. How many of you, your mouth is salivating right now? Your mind only knows what you tell it. So be very, very careful who your 5 people are and what you tell your mind. Because all of you just ate a lemon with me. Because your mouth is telling you it did, right? Pretty powerful, isn't it? All right, well first, I want to thank my most amazing wild unit, Women of Integrity, Leading and Developing. You guys all flew in, not one of you are from here, and there's some that are not they'll be watching this virtually and are going to other ones, but you guys are the reason why we stand with the recognition, because each of you overcame obstacles, tragedies, victories, setbacks. All kinds of stuff happened this year. all kinds of stuff happened this last 2 years, right? But it's you guys that deserves this recognition. So applause to my wild unit. I love you guys. And I gotta give a shout out. I totally exposed my husband. We still work on his faith a little bit and what's available in Mary Kay, but he's getting really good at it. But my husband Joe, he does allow me to shine, and he gives me room to be me. And we couldn't be so more polar opposite. He works in aviation, he says he helps people get high for a living. He oversees the maintenance, literally, oversees the maintenance for Southwest Airlines. And so there is a great reason why he keeps airplanes in the sky and I work with people. Because otherwise I'd be like, duct tape will fix it, it's all good, right? No, it's a good thing he works there. I have 4 amazing kids. Brandon is my bonus son. He's 22 in the U.S. Air Force, serving today in the Air Force. Avery, my daughter, is 17, Audrey is 15, and Cooper is 14. Thanks also goes to my parents, Dawn and Cindy Town, National Sales Director Emeriti. I have to tell you, she has extreme FOMO today, and so does my dad, because this is the first speech I gave that they're not in the room. Told you we're not gonna be funny today, we're gonna cry. So, I'm a trigger crier, so once I see you all cry, I'm gonna cry with you, but I think I might do it first. I also wanna say a huge shout out to my girlfriends. And I say this because they all know who they are. There's a prayer circle that's so tight that I believe that the bonds in Mary Kay are greater than anything. And they are the kind of girlfriends that carry you when you feel like you cannot walk. And I will tell you, they're the reason why I stand here today. Because there have been some dark times. And so many of them, from Pink Tank to Becky Stanley, Sarah Godfrey, Bridget Moore, Carrie Bloink, Emily Stone, Stephanie Benz, and my wild family directors, and also my bonus directors. Above all, I give honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. When I prayed about what to share today, I usually tell my story in reverse of when I started when I was 3, and what I learned growing up in Mary Kay, and that it's worth it for you as a mom and what your kids are gonna catch. But that was really my mom's journey that I got to be a part of before I even said yes to Mary Kay. So when I prayed and I asked my girlfriends, please pray, because there was a lot of stuff that happened this last week that I couldn't even share today for time's sake. I had 2 confirmations in what I was to share. Pam Garner-Moore and National Sales Director Sue Wallace picked up the phone and said, you need to be real, you need to be raw, because the women of America today need hope. And they need to know that even though they're walking through stuff, they can still achieve and build an amazing business. So here we go. We're gonna talk about hope. I believe our life is much like a roller coaster. How many love roller coasters? How many are terrified? It's usually half and half. How many of you absolutely, whether you're terrified or you love them, know the feeling of the click, 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 right? Because even if you're excited and you want to do it, there's so much anticipation of the drop, right? And knowing that each time that clicks, the only reason that clicks there is if for some reason that thing would fail, it will catch you at that last click. And so often that we're going in our life, we think we're on our own, but God just takes us click, click, click. And the whirls and the winds, the lows and the highs, the spins are all worth it. We get off the roller coaster or we come to the end, and how many of you like me are like, let's do it again? And some of you are like, get me off. But you enjoyed it, it was exhilarating. So I have run my business in so many different seasons, starting at 18, single in college on a volleyball scholarship, to marrying into being a bonus mom of 2 amazing bonus kids and having 2 amazing kids of my own, Avery and Cooper. But what was ended up being 12 years of a very toxic, abusive marriage. My question was not, can I? But how can I? And let me go back here. I gotta give credit to my girlfriend, Callie DeLander Brigham, who speaks this so often. It's not about, can I do it, but how can I do it? So I want you to repeat after me and say, how can I? How? And then you fill in the blanks with the rest. It might be, how can I when I've never went virtual on Zoom? How can I build a business when I have no contacts? How can I build a business when I live in a very toxic situation? How can I do this as a single mom? How can I do this working 60 hours a week? How? brings hope and faith. Can I brings restrictions and not enough. So in that 12 years, I said, how can I build without being able to leave my 2 kids safely with my husband? Repeat again after me. How can I? Okay, you really are all sounding really asleep. How can I? Thank you. To when I left with $11 in my pocket and my 2 kids, and we were on our own as we rebuilt our lives with 1.5 years of restraining orders that I incurred over $100,000 in attorney debt protecting my family. My question still was not, can I do this and fight for our freedom? It continued to be, how can I rebuild our lives, being an amazing mom, businesswoman, and daughter of the Most High King? That season, I qualified for my 7th Cadillac on the very last day of the very last month, and it was the only time I've ever done that. When there had been death spoken at me, that God would take my influence, and leaving that statement rang in me over and over again, is how can I earn this Cadillac during one of the most testing, dark times of my life? You see, at that point, I had applied for food assistance because of the mounting debt that I had. And when that woman called, someone in Mary Kay once asked me what was the most proud moment of my life. When that woman called, and no judgment either way, and asked for me to come in for an interview, because they have to interview to see if you're qualified for it. I paused for a very long moment, and I've never felt the presence of God so strong in all my life. And it's as if he was in my office that day. And I said to that woman, I apologize for wasting your time up until this point, but I will not be coming into that appointment. And she's like, but you applied for it. Don't you need it? I said, you see, I've been called. I've been called to help influence and change women's lives. And today I'm going to start with my own. So that day I walked out of my office and went into my bedroom and fell on my face before the Lord. And I forgave my ex for everything he had done to me and the kids. And the talons came out. Now that wasn't on my notes, but somebody needs to hear that they need to forgive. So as I collapsed from earning that car on the ground, I'm crying. My son Cooper says, Mom, why are you crying? Why are you sad? He gets so upset when I'm crying. And I said, these are victory tears. This is the proof that what the enemy came to kill, steal, and destroy, that God is rebuilding today. So again, how can I? The question becomes very worth it when you understand the power behind it. Onto life as a single mom, no child support, rebuilding our lives. I met my amazing husband, Joe, at a birthday party in Seattle. And when he asked for my number, I thought, what could it hurt? He's from Phoenix and I'm never moving. And so the first month of us talking, we were talking back and forth, and he's like, well, I'm never moving back to Seattle. And I'm like, well, I'm never leaving Seattle because my dad's my best friend, so I don't know why we're talking. And 3 years later, we marry. He moves to Seattle. We blend our 4 kids. And 2 years after that, God surprised us with moving us to Kansas City, Missouri. And I said, it was the biggest joke. He was never leaving Phoenix. I was never leaving Seattle. And we ended up in Kansas City, Missouri. And then 2 years right before COVID, we moved back here. And again, it was, how can I build in an area I don't know one single person? Not can I. How can I build? You see, surrounded by this amazing career, you have hope because you have a choice, correct? Yes. So I want to give you a nugget before I share my favorite poem of things I go to all the time. And I say this because my strengths are woo, activator, communication, positivity, and strategy. So I typically jump off the cliff and build my plan as I fly. And I kind of freak some people out. But I say this because I'm always in a forward motion, and sometimes I kind of feel like I'm behind the 8 ball because I want to be doing more. And so this I got from Tony Robbins, and I use it daily, and it's called the RPM system. If you want to build huge momentum in your life, how do you do it? How do you do it? RPM. First, R stands for results. What do you actually want? Like, have you thought about that? I know we talked about dusting off our dreams and dreaming pink again, but have you actually thought, what do you want right now? Has it changed a little bit maybe? What do you really want? I know what I want. I know what I'm called to. But what do you want? So establishing that, but keep asking it deeper and deeper. Keep asking, what do I want? It is okay to want. It's absolutely okay to want because God uses you through your wants. The P stands for purpose. Why do you want it? Why? Why do you want a 6-butt kitchen? I used to have that on my affirmation. It was on my flip chart, on my flip cards for visualization. And so I didn't want to have a butt that was 6 butts wide, but I wanted a 6-butt kitchen and it was on my visualization cards. What is a 6-butt kitchen? I love people coming to my house and hanging out with me, but the kitchen is where everybody hangs out, correct? And if you don't have a 6-butt kitchen, 4 people can't be talking and 2 people can't walk by casually. That is a 6-butt kitchen, right? So I have a 6-butt kitchen today. And today, now I'm like waiting for all the building supplies to go down. I'm visualizing a 10-butt pool. Now, I want a bigger pool than that, but I was designing my pool and I told the designer, I said, I want the Baja deck to be huge, like the whole end of the table, the whole end of the pool, all the way around with like 4 things for umbrellas. And he's like, why do you want it so big? I said, it's the kitchen of the pool. All adults hang out on the Baja deck. So she's gonna tell me I'm gonna be done, I'm not done. Okay, so P is purpose. You giving me 2? You're 1. 1. M is map. Create a massive action plan and get to work. Don't question it. How many times, if your baby was learning how to walk, how many times did you let him learn how to walk? Did you push him down after the first time and say, no, you can't do it anymore? No, just they kept trying. They figured it out. They scooted on their butt. They figured it out. They got back up. They pulled up. They used your leg. Create a massive action plan and keep tweaking it until it works for you. So an RPM, results, purpose, and map. So I'd like to close with my favorite poem. It's called The Race. Oh, I'll get through this one. Whenever I start to hang my head in front of failure's face, my downward fall is broken by the memory of the race. A children's race, young boys, young men, how I remember it well, excitement sure, but also fear. It wasn't hard to tell. They all lined up so full of hope, each thought to win that race, or tie for first, or if not that, at least take second place. Their parents watched from off the side, each cheering for their son, and each boy hoped to show his folks that he would be the one. The whistle blew, and off they flew like chariots of fire. To win, to be the hero there, was each young boy's desire. Oh boy, one boy in particular, whose dad was in the crowd, was running in the lead and thought my dad will be so proud. But as he speeded down the field and crossed the shallow dip, the little boy who thought to win lost his step and slipped. Trying hard to catch himself, his arms flew every place, and amidst the laughter of the crowd, he fell flat on his face. As he fell, his hope fell too. He couldn't win it now. Humiliated, he just wished to disappear somehow. But as he fell, his dad stood up and showed his anxious face, which to the boy so clearly said, get up and win that race. He quickly rose, no damage done, behind a bit it's all, and ran with all of his mind and might to make up for the fall. So anxious to restore himself, to catch up and to win, his mind went faster than his legs. He slipped and fell again. He wished that he had quit before with only one disgrace. I'm hopeless as a runner now. I shouldn't try to race. But through the laughing crowd, he searched and found his father's face with a steady look that said again, get up and win that race. So he jumped up and tried again, 10 yards behind the last. If I'm to gain those yards, he thought, I've got to run real fast. Exceeding everything he had, he regained 8 and then 10. But trying hard to catch the lead, he slipped and fell again. Defeat, he lay there silently, a tear dropped from his eye. There's no sense running anymore. 3 strikes out, I'm out, why try? I've lost, so what's the use? He thought, I'll live with my disgrace. But then he thought about his dad, who soon he'd have to face. Get up, an echo sounded low. You haven't lost it all, for all you have to do to win is rise each time you fall. Get up, the echo urged him on. Get up and take your place. You were not meant for failure here. Get up and win that race. So up he rose to run once more, refusing to forfeit. He's resolved to win or lose, at least he wouldn't quit. So far behind the others now, the most he'd ever been. Still, he'd have to give it. He ran as if he could win. 3 times he'd fallen, stumbling. 3 times he rose again. Too far behind to hope to win. He ran until the end. They cheered another boy who crossed the line and won first place, head high and proud and happy. No falling, no disgrace. But when the fallen youngster crossed the line, last place, the crowd gave him a greater cheer for finishing the race. And even though he came in last with his head bowed low and proud, you would have thought he'd won the race to listen to the crowd. And to his dad, he sadly said, "I didn't do so well. To me, you won," his father said. "You rose each time you fell." And now when things seem dark and bleak and difficult to face, the memory of that little boy helps me run my own race. For all of life is like a race with ups and downs and all you have to do to win is rise each time you fall. And when depression and despair shout loudly in my face, another voice within me says, "Get up and win that race." Have an amazing rest of your seminar year.